I applied to 681 jobs before I got my first offer over the span of about 10 months. I've literally been applying for these jobs about a year in advance while I'm graduating, doing my classes, doing research, doing all these other sort of things that I need to live. And yeah, job hunting is pretty fucking miserable right now. I won't lie. As somebody like in Gen Z, I think this is like the worst thing that I've experienced since like applying to colleges. And it's a lot more on the line, and there's a lot more at stake. And I'm computer science as well, so it's probably a lot worse than some of the other things that you guys may be majoring in. So let's talk about it. I think the first thing that comes to mind, at least for people in engineering or in general, is how we approach or how we are treated in these sort of job applications, right? You go, you're typing, you're filling all your job application in, and then you get hit the next day with automatic denial. You say, what the fuck? Literally just applied yesterday. Well, you have these things called ATS, and they are basically screeners that are implemented with AI, or you can do it without AI. It's just like it checks for some sort of qualifications that you might have early or like listed on your thing as a minimum requirement. But you don't get to know that. No, no, no. That's why I put, swiper, no swiping. Like, you're not allowed to know. He's going to take that away, and that's it. Like, you don't get to know. So you can't even understand, like, what you should be putting on your resume in the first place that allow this company to look at you. You're just not even going to get the chance. I don't care whether you worked at Nvidia, Microsoft, the biggest companies in the world, you were the CEO. I'm not going to look at you because you don't have that you worked as a dishwasher before, or you have 40 hours that you were working. You only work 39. So that's kind of like the realm that we're basically in with this sort of stuff, is that you get automatically filtered out and you're gone. That's it. Like, apply again next year. There's like the constraints on like how many times you can apply, which roles you can apply for, and so yeah. And while you're doing that, you submitted this, months in advance, and maybe okay, ATS doesn't screen you out. Well, the ATS might not be active until the very end, and then you're just not qualified at all. So it'll screen you. It won't tell you that you're disqualified. Basically, it'll just wait until a couple months later, and then boom, rejected. Or if you're lucky, you'll basically get like a ghost. You'll get ghosted, which like nobody will respond at all. Which 90% of the time, that is what happens when they don't want you. So I'm really surprised when I get emails and stuff like about like that. Like, oh, like you're denied. Yeah, I mean, I assume after 6 months, if you don't respond to me, I'm probably not getting the job. But thank you for sending the email anyways, because most of the time they don't. And then another thing, this is particularly for engineering. I don't know what it's like for other roles, but super days. Super days are basically you get a bunch of people, you put them on site or yourself, and they put you into a room or like virtual room or whatever, and you have 3 to 5 interviews, sometimes 6 interviews back to back to back after you just did like 3 in a phone interview and talk with the manager and all that stuff beforehand. And yeah, so that's like what they're kind of doing, that they're just pulling people into mass rounds and I don't know, rounding them up and like slapping them across the face like, what is 2 times 5.1 blah, 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 all these like random sort of questions. Like, you don't know really what to expect half the time either, because it's behind closed doors a lot of the times, and they just don't want you knowing or leaking information to give other people an edge. That's another thing that's new. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, user experience sucks basically. Don't expect like interviews to be very friendly. And so this is my Sankey graph that I made. So yeah, before I got my first job offer, and I would say these are probably relatively better if you compare to other people, in like the amount they apply. I will say I might have been a little bit lucky to be able to get like online assessments, phone rounds, and stuff like that. But I only really got one job offer over the last year, and yeah, it kind of is really bad. I mean, not to say that you should be getting more than one job offer, but like just the fact that I had to apply to this many, do all of this, and only for it to result in one, out of going through all that is kind of insane to me. Not being able to have options, or being blessed to just have one option. I'm blessed to have one option, but some people don't have any. But yeah, for internships, I definitely thought it was a lot easier, still competitive. But yeah, this is my Sankey graph. So online assessments, I had 3 on-sites, 8 super days. Like, I was dying. I was like checked out, mentally checked out. So what are the other things that make the user experience really bad? Well, I talked about the ATS over here, and like, another thing to note about that is like, one, it automatically rejects you, and like you won't know why. But two is that we're kind of tending towards like we're optimizing it for humans and not robots. So people have developed some funny ways in order to get around these ATS systems. So there's this thing. It's called latex, and basically you can make like program your resume instead of like, it's not Google Docs, right? And so what people will do is they will basically take this sort of like program, and they will put in the white space. So let's say I have like my resume here or something like that, and this is hi legacy, blah 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 whatever. And then if I go and I go to this resume, and then I put I don't know in a different color that maybe the ATS system can't see. So I put let me put green or orange. So now let's say this is all in orange, so now it can't see it, so it's in the white space. The robot will read that, but if somebody goes to review my resume, like they won't visibly be able to see it, and that's kind of like blending in like a little chameleon essentially, and that's how people are getting around these robots now. Is that because there's like a lot of white space, and maybe you can put some information there programmatically instead of writing it in text. The robot will read it, and then you basically get a lot more free information that is not true, but you get to pass the ATS check. So yeah, we're basically like all the iRobots over here, and that's kind of like what we're tending towards right now. So that's really bad. Another thing is ghost jobs. So a lot of companies, I think like there was a report like over 70% or something like that. Don't fact check me on that. I'm not sure, but I read something like that. That they will post fake jobs and you will apply to them. And what they'll do with that information, they have no intention of hiring you in the first place, by the way. They never did. But they will go take your information, and once you click, okay, cool, read through all the cookies, boom, and then all your data is gone. They just sell it. They're allowed to do that. That's insane. What? Yeah. So you apply to a fake job. You're never getting an interview, but they're gonna make money off it because you decided to apply, and you didn't read the disclaimer, and they're allowed to do this. What the hell? That's all I have to say to that. What the hell? When I first thought about it, it's like this is dystopian. This is insane. Like this is like some sort. There has to be some sort of fraud or something like that. There's no way. And yeah. So ghost jobs exist. So watch out for those. I don't really know any way to detect them other than just look at the statements, like everything that you're clicking through and signing. Like there might be something in there. But yeah. So let's. I guess I could give my experience and what I know about computer science full-time interviews, and this obviously might be a lot less or a lot more depending on what you're in. But I think this is like an extreme example to give you what CS people are going through. Like all these big companies sort of like do this format. So first you submit your resume, they screen it, and they're like, okay, cool. Person will call you, bing, bing, bing. Okay, cool. You actually know what you're talking about, and you're a real human, and like you're a halfway decent person. Cool. Behavioral done. First round, you do some coding. Second round, you do some coding or something like that. You talk about things, and sometimes they'll give you take-home homework. So on top of already having to prepare for I guess like this next round you have either on site, which is the super day I was talking about with multiple interviews. You have to do some homework first, and you have to take it home, and you have to do it, and then you have to email it, and you have to do all of that, and those are typically pretty hard from what I gather. And then after that, oh cool, you did your homework, you did all these rounds. Let's invite you on site. You get 6 interviews back to back to back to back to back to back to back, and then you can finally get an offer that's probably mediocre for all of the hard work, and you have student debt. What? Yeah, so that's basically like how it's going right now. This is a very extreme example. Maybe it won't be like 3 to 6. For CS, I know is that, but for other, I don't know, majors, it might be a lot less, or you might not even have a super day. Lucky you. Um, so that's kind of like the real extreme example. Like we're just being humiliated at this point. Like we're going through all of this to maybe get a mediocre job with all the debt that we have. Doesn't pay as well as we would want it to. Basically, I mean, something is something at the end of the day. I'm not going to be too picky, but definitely for the amount of work, the amount of debt that a person would get, they would want something halfway decent, right? But when there's not a lot of jobs in the first place, and you're continuously applying and you're continuously burnt out, it's going to be pretty hard to be satisfied with half-ass like I don't know benefits or salary, whatever it may be, whatever matters to you. And yeah, and at the end of the day, kind of being set up for success in this case, right? It's not. I mean, in some cases, like it could be our fault if we're not trying hard enough and we're not putting in all the effort that we possibly could in, which I would say it's about half and half between everyone in the generation, right? There's always a generation that has like some people that work hard, some people that don't, some people that are content with their situation. But what I don't agree with is that all of the media outlets, they will say Gen Z doesn't want to work. Okay, that's partially true. There's some people that want to work and some people that don't. But I feel like the people that even when they're putting in the hard work, like it's kind of an unfair judgment to basically say that. Okay, so I kind of can break this down. All right, now I'm heated up over this. But basically, there's like a few parts that you can probably extract from this. Is one, um, not not enough jobs. Why? Because there are layoffs. Jobs pay bad. There is debt. No relief for debt. So it's a continuous debt cycle. I think the debt cycle is like pretty important to note here, because like most people that go through college, which by the way, college is like most of the time a requirement nowadays for most roles and stuff like that. Like your little boot camp or your little self study is not going to cut it nowadays. So mind you, we have to have college degree, and this basically is all connected to this. Okay, so now we have low pay on top of this for the relative cost that it took us to get the degree. If you were blessed to not have any debt with your degree, that's good on you. But at the end of the day, now like you're still struggling to get a job regardless, right? It doesn't matter whether your degree is paid or not. You're just you have that lucky scenario, right? So I really think it's not fair to say like Gen Z doesn't want to work. It's that there are not enough opportunities for the people who put in the hard work to want to be able to go for a job in an experience system that is like this in hell, and people are constantly being laid off. And okay, I forgot about this as well. There's a constant competition between the people who are being laid off and the people who are just getting out of college. So now you have like master students, experienced people, and now I'm gonna be like, this is like versus me, me, college grad, new college grad. So it's like, man, so now I have to compete with other people who are more experienced than I am. So how the hell is my resume going to get passed through? I have a college degree, but then I have all of this debt. I can't get a job because people are being laid off and I have to compete with them. There's not enough jobs to apply to. They pay bad, so I can't even pay all of my student debt in a reasonable amount of time. And the job itself really pays like shit. So we're kind of left in a position where this is just like not really a fair statement to put out, I think. Definitely, it was a lot easier back when I could throw a penny and get a well, and then that well, oh my God, there's gas under it. Oh, you can take all my gas. Oh, now I have a mansion for 500K down the line. Now it's 1.5 mil. What? So it's like, yeah, there's definitely like generational differences here. I still don't think it's not really an excuse for us not to be able to accomplish the things that we want to. I still think it's necessary to put in the hard work and just not give up. It's just going to be a little bit rougher. But like I said in like previous videos, like anybody who has gone through a struggle in some sort of way has always managed to come on top. So I don't think it's like, we don't want to work. It's that it is extremely hard for us to get into a position that puts us at an advantage, to be able to do the work and enjoy the thing that we want to do. And yeah, so the increase in qualifications is basically like the degree thing I was talking about. Like we're constantly put at foot with anyone else that is laid off and like more qualified than us. And this is kind of like, oh yeah, and this is a book that I read. It's like this is about ghost jobs and like bullshit jobs. So go read this. I didn't read it. I read like a few extracts, and then I just looked at the book a little bit. And this is the jobs loop cycle thing I was talking about. I don't know how correct this cycle is, but I try to put it in a way that is maybe understandable. So basically, you get a degree. It has some sort of debt. You get a bad job. The bad job, oh, you get laid off for some sort of reason. Um, that sucks. There's less jobs. You're underqualified, and you have to. I think the thing I'm missing here is that there's competition. Because there is competition, now maybe you have to get a degree. If not, okay, bad job, cycling debt, and you continuously pay that off, and you're not getting in any better position, and you're in constant fear of being laid off in some sort of way, right? So that is kind of like the cycle that I was talking about earlier, and then kind of hinted throughout this discussion, sort of thing. But yeah, I think these are really important things to talk about because yeah, people are going through it in college, and I think like this statement right here is kind of can resonate with everyone when I say it's not really fair in terms to say it. Um, yeah, Gen Z doesn't want to work. Very interesting point to put out, Boomer.